Hello, today we'll be working with assemblies. An assembly is a collection of individual parts working together. Today we're going to be creating this, a piston cylinder, similar to those used in engines. This assembly consists of 4 different parts which are mated together to create the piston. As you can see, each part's limitations are defined. And here are the 4 parts: the frame, the piston, the linkage, and the main shaft. So we're going to be creating this to get to know how assemblies work. Okay, so the first part that we're going to create is the frame. So just like all the other times, we're going to go over to File, hit New, and select Part. Now we got to show all of the planes, and we can begin. So first we want to start with our sketch. We're going to create a 3x3x3 cube, but before we do any of that, we don't want to create this in millimeters. I'm going to be using inches for this. So the way I change the main measurement is if I go down to the right, over here where it says Custom, and I choose IPS. This is inch pound second for the units. So this will automatically make everything I do in inches. So I'm going to go ahead and select a plane to sketch on, and I'm going to draw out a square. So we're going to go ahead and make a 3x3x3 cube. I'll just go ahead and speed through it here. I'm going to go ahead and make this 3, make everything equal, and then I'll extrude it using the midplane feature so it's symmetric, and then make it 3 inches, and hit the check mark. So now we have our cube. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out a 2.5 inch diameter hole at the top. So if I go ahead and sketch over here and use my Control 5 key to go to the top, I can go ahead and make a circle up top here, smart dimension it at 2.5 inches, and go over to Features and choose Extruded Cut just like we used before to make a cut through here. I'm going to use the Through All underneath the drop down. You probably won't be able to see the drop down on my screen, but if you hit where it says Blind, you select Through All, and if I pivot over here, you'll notice that it goes all the way through the solid. So I hit the check mark, and that gives us our circle. So now I'm going to be doing something new with this cube. I'm going to go ahead and make the sides, but I'm going to be using mirror feature to mirror it onto the other side. So we only have to do one leg. I'm going to make a sketch over here. Go ahead and use my control keys to go to where I want to. And then I'm going to use the corner rectangle tool over here and sketch down. Now I want this to be in line with the cube up top so it has nice symmetrical legs. And then I'll go ahead and smart dimension this to be 8 inches. Now what I can do is I can extrude it out so it's no longer just a sketch and it's an actual solid object. I'm going to make this 0.25 inches. So you can see it's extruding out over here, and hit the check mark. So now we have one leg, but now we want to mirror it onto the other side. The way that we mirror features in SolidWorks is that we choose the linear pattern feature over here underneath the Features tab, and hit the drop down arrow at the bottom and choose Mirror. Now it's going to ask you the mirror face and plane. I'm going to choose the plane right in the middle. I believe that's the right plane. And then it's asking me what I want to mirror, and I want it to be this feature that I just created. So you can see it gives you a sort of preview of what it's going to do, and I can hit the check mark, and now we immediately have a mirrored part. Now I need to make a hole for the bottom shaft in the bottom, like how we saw when I showed it to you in the beginning. I'm gonna sketch on this side, use my Control 3 key, 4 key actually, to get to the side I want to. And I'm going to make a circle on the center plane so it's symmetrical or in the center. And I'm going to make this 0.5 inches. And then I'm going to make this 1.5 inches off the ground. Now what I can do is I can use the extruded cut feature and cut all the way through using the Through All feature again. It's going to cut all the way through and make a hole on the other side as well. Now this part is done. But something that we can do to make it look nicer and also, I guess, make sure that there are no sharp edges is use the fillet feature up here. just like how we used on our cube at the beginning of the first video. I'm going to use this. I'm going to make it 1/8 inches, so 0.125, and I'm going to choose these lines over here. So if I choose these lines, then these edges are no longer going to be sharp points. I'll also choose these inside. And I'll choose these edges over here. Then I can hit check mark to finish this. So Control 7 gives me an isometric view, and that's essentially what we want. Now we have to save it. So if you hit Control S, you can go ahead and give it a name and save it wherever you want to. I already have a place picked out, so if you don't, then go ahead and make a file wherever you want to, and then I'll name this the frame. And then you can see up top it's going to name itself. So frame from training video. Yes, I can capitalize. I'm just lazy. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to have to make the shaft in the center. Actually, we'll start with the piston first. So we'll do this piston head. If I go over to the engine assembly, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but this piston head over here is what we want to make. Okay, so now I'm going to start making the head. So File, New, I choose Part, and I can start making the piston head. I'm going to start that with a cylinder. So if I sketch and choose circle, I can then make it 2.5 inches in diameter. You'll notice I had to specify inches at the end because it defaulted to millimeter. So I'm going to want to change this down here from custom to IPS once again. Now what I want to do is I want to extrude this circle. I'm going to hit the extruded boss base, select the circle, and using midplane, I'm going to make this 2.5 inches in height. So now I have the basics of the piston head done. Now what I need to do is I need to make a hole in the bottom for the linkage to connect to. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to make a sketch on the bottom, use Control 6 to get to the bottom, then I'm going to use the center rectangle tool. It's on the drop down, just like how you'd use for a square, except this time I'm going to be making a rectangle. So if I do this, and I line this up to the edge, so by clicking this and shift clicking with the edge of the circle, by clicking this, shift clicking up here, then on the left I can choose tangent, so now it's touching this over here, and I can hit check mark. Now what I want to do is I want to make this 1 inch wide. So I'll go ahead and specify 1 inch and hit feature and extruded cut. I want to make this 1 inch deep. I'm using the blind feature over here, and then I'll hit check mark. So now you can see we have a cutout over here. Now what I want to do is I want to make a cylinder with a sketch over here and extrude it all the way down to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use section view. So over here is a bar that we haven't really used very often. And one of these options, the section view right over here, will let you see half of your part. So if I click this, it'll automatically select a plane. It can be any plane. But if you select a plane, it'll cut along that plane. It's not actually going to cut it, but it's going to remove that plane from view. And if I select this plane once again, then I can see that I have only half of this view to me. The other side is still there, it's just hidden from view, it's just cut off from view. So if I hit the check mark, now you can see I'm dealing with only half of what I need. This lets me start a sketch over here by using right click and hitting sketch in the menu that pops up. Now I can start making a cylinder over here and extrude it 1 inch. So Control 1 to give me a top down view, and I'll start a circle sketch over here. I'm going to make this 0.5 inches in diameter, and then I'll make it 0.5 inches from the bottom. Now what I can do is underneath features, hit extruded boss base, use blind, and let it go 1 inch out. Now when I click the section view button again, and I can see the other side, now you'll notice that I have a bar running through here from the sketch over here. If I didn't use section view, and I hit Control 1, I wouldn't be able to see where I'm sketching. Or I wouldn't be able to see the face at least. So now this is basically done. I'm once again going to fill it a little bit, just so it looks better. I'm going to use the 1/8, 1/8, and I'm going to choose these two lines. And I can hit check mark. So now that's essentially my piston. I'm going to save this as piston. And you'll see that it saves up in the top right. Now is the part where I'm going to come to the linkages. So we have the piston and we have the frame. However, the only thing left is to make the linkages that connect. So if I go back to my assembly, I need to make this linkage, and I need to make this shaft. We're going to be covering that in the next episode. So for now, see ya.